Welcome to this week's edition of the Nation's Capital Sports Show, where it's most definitely on. Gentlemen, let's get started talking about what we enjoy talking about the best and the most, and that is sports here in the DMV. I'm Kevin Jeter, hanging out with Afshin Banab, Stephen Mangas, and our very special guest, Shannon Hagler. Glad for you to join us today, Shannon.
Thank you.
We're going to talk a little bit about you for the first half of the show. You are a student and entrepreneur, and you have this company called Slick Kick Customs. And let me tell you, the things that you can do to a pair of sneakers is like artistry. And tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with this.
Well, I've been interested my whole life in designing things. It started out with, like when I was little, maybe about 5th or 6th grade, designing uniforms or something. And it moved on to, after that, I started to get interested in shoes, and I've always been somewhat artistic. So I decided to one day paint a pair of shoes, and I found out I was really interested in it. And about a year ago, I did my first pair of shoes, and since then I've just been going at it.
Well, I think you're very modest. Somewhat artistic is an understatement because these things are great. This is almost akin to what they do in custom cars, and Shannon has found a way to do it with custom shoes. Gentlemen.
Yeah, so you said that you started about a year ago, and I'm surprised to hear that because I know we've taken a look at some of your work, and it seems like you've done a great number of shoes since then.
Yeah.
How often are you doing this? You just painting constantly, or
Well,
yeah.
well, I get customers maybe about once every 2 weeks.
Okay. So how did go ahead?
Oh, I think it's not just, you're not just artistic. I think it's an art and science combination to it.
Yes.
I mean, you've got to do some pinpoint accuracy when you're doing this. But you not only do shoes, you do other things as well, or you're starting to venture out into other areas.
I'm starting to work on helmets too, and other things.
So how do you come up with the ideas and the concept to this? Does a customer come to you and say, hey, I have this in mind, or they say, here's what I have, can you make sense of this?
A customer, they could come to me and they could tell me what they want on the shoe, or sometimes, in some cases, they've told me that I can just be creative on the shoe and do what I like.
Wow, let's talk a little bit about these creations right here. This one is called?
It's called Miami Night.
All right, wow, and I'm gonna hold this up for the camera. This is good. Stick it in my bag right here. What size is this? Oh, this is nice. And this one right here?
Oh, that one is Statue of Liberty.
Wow.
As you can see, on this side, you can see the
That's tight.
Statue of Liberty right here.
Wow.
Now, how did you come up with that idea to do the Statue
these
of Liberty?
themes, these were actually, this is a colorway that Nike created, but I recreated it on a different pair of shoes. Yes, because they're both pretty popular colorways that Nike's released, and I just decided to put them on another pair of shoes.
What's your favorite that you've done so far?
My favorite is probably these.
The Miami Nights?
Yeah.
And it looks just like something
Yeah.
you'd see in Miami, too. That's perfect.
In terms of working with Nike, and you actually have permission to do this from them, correct?
Actually, I don't really have permission, but I've never, well, most like really big customizers, like recently they've been doing cleats for athletes and such in the NFL, and Nike's had somewhat of a problem with them, like painting over the Nike sign and stuff like that, but I don't really have permission from Nike. I just decided to, do my work on the shoe.
Well, I'm quite sure they wouldn't have any problems anyway, because you are making great quality stuff here. You talked to us during the pre-production about Under Armour. Explain what you're going to be working with them.
Well, for Under Armour, I want to probably start working with Under Armour eventually, because at my school, St. John's, they have a pretty close connection with Kevin Plank. And it'd be nice to start with some company like Under Armour instead of just going with Nike all the time. Be cool to be original.
Right. And if you're just joining us, you're watching the Nation's Capital Sports Show, where it's most definitely on. I'm Kevin Jeter, hanging out with Afshin Banab, Stephen Mangas, and our very special guest, Shannon Hagler, entrepreneur, sophomore at St. John's, has a really hot product here, and I'm glad that you graced us on this cold, wintry day to join us.
That's right. Yeah, Shannon, you play lacrosse and you play basketball at St. John's. Have the coaches in either one of those sports asked you possibly
yeah,
do something
actually,
at least in the near future, if not now?
One of the varsity basketball coaches has actually seen my shoes too, and he's asked me to eventually do a pair, and also my Spanish teacher too.
Wow.
And you said yes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
How do you come up with funding for this? Obviously, how do you come up with funding, and have you ever thought about doing something like Kickstarter?
Well, for funding, originally I charged it wasn't that expensive for my first pair, so I kind of dished out some of my own money out of my account to start it, but since then it's been self-funding.
Wow.
Okay.
And your parents must be proud of you, and your brother too. They're sitting in the audience here. I can tell you, Shannon doesn't have to actually depend on you when it comes to prom time 2 years from now, because he'll have his own funds.
Shannon, as you know, Shannon, obviously your brother, he's artistic as well
Yes.
in the music industry. But I think what you're doing is wonderful at Slick Kick Customs. Do you have anybody who helps you?
No, I don't really have anybody that
So
was.
this is totally your own venture.
Yeah.
That's
I do see one professional customizer. His name is Des Customs, and he gives me some tips sometimes.
Wow.
So all on your own right now, about a customer every 2 weeks or something. How long does each shoe take or pair of shoes take? I imagine it varies somewhat. But
Yeah, it varies. Like this shoe, it took about 2 days to finish, and this one took a little bit longer because it had some more detail in it.
Okay, so it's, explain it a little bit, I guess.
Yeah,
What are the kind of materials that are used in that?
materials
Like, is it a
usually-
special type of paint? Or?
Yeah, it's a special type of paint. It's acrylic leather paint,
Okay.
but yeah, I either use an airbrush or I just hand paint the shoe. For both of these, in this case, I airbrushed this one completely, and this one I airbrushed and I hand painted all the speckles on the shoe that you can see.
And if you could show that we posted something on our Facebook page at the Nation's Capital Sports Show, but the guys right now are going to post something that deals with your shoes. It's a template that talks that shows your different display of shoes. One of the favorite shoes is, I like this one right here. I like this one, but there's also one that we mentioned doing our post-production that they're going to post as well. Afshin,
Right.
what was the name of that shoe?
That one is, I think, one of your newest ones, right,
Yeah.
Shannon? The Stars and Stripes. So
Right.
that one looks mighty fine.
Right.
It really looks. That one looks very cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another one of the ones I noticed on there too was the Chargers shoe. That was
Yeah.
obviously an NFL theme for the San Diego Chargers. I imagine it was a customer that was a fan that
Yeah.
came to you for that.
Oh, I can see
Yeah,
this
that's
actually
pretty cool.
going great places.
Yeah, I can
because
imagine you doing that for
have
all
a lot
32
of,
teams.
I mean, Shannon will be the artist of the stars, the true artist of the stars when it comes to this. I mean, I can really see this kicking off. You have any ideas beyond, what are your plans for the future in regards to Slick Kick Customs?
Well, my plans in the future, hopefully one day I can design for a shoe company like Nike or Under Armour.
Wow, I'm quite sure they're looking at you as, this is just completely, I've never seen anything like this. This is brilliant.
It'd be foolish not to get in touch with you, but you need to take the step and get in touch with them first and let them know exactly what you do, because I think this is something that can go a long way, Shannon. So, good luck to you with this venture. I think before all is said and done, we might see not just football, but I don't know if you'd be interested in doing basketball and
Yeah.
all kinds of sports.
Yeah.
Michael Phelps swim trunks. I don't know. Something like that. Seriously.
Goaltenders in ice hockey, their
Yes.
helmets are
Oh, yes.
always customized to different things, and you see it for just even different games. The Winter Classic guys, they've got their special helmets. And I mean, that happens at lower levels too. Those guys still
Yeah.
AHL, everything else. Those are custom helmets. They go to custom designers.
That's
for that.
a great point,
Yeah.
Stephen. Is Goldie the helmets that
Yeah.
Goldie's wear? They do everything different than the rest of the hockey players.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something you might be able to venture in one day too. But
And I imagine same thing in lacrosse with one of your own sports that you play too.
I've seen a couple
Yeah.
of custom lacrosse gold helmets.
If someone wanted to get in contact with you, how could they reach you?
On my Instagram, there's a website. There's a link to my website in my bio, and on the website there's a place where you can email me, and that's how you can contact me.
Okay, and we're going to post that right now for you if we haven't done so already. That's how you can get in contact with Shannon Hagler. Wow. Artist extraordinary. I really do mean it. I'm glad that you were able to come on our show. Thanks, Afshin, for bringing that Shannon along. And we're going to actually have you for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
So if you stay with us, we're going to talk about more sports right here on the Nation's Capital, the sports show. As a matter of fact, our college basketball local segment is coming up next. We're going to talk about Georgetown, Maryland, UVA, Howard U, and American University on this episode of the Nation's Capital Sports Show. You can also catch us on Facebook. We want you to like us. I'm Kevin Judowitz, Shannon Hagler, Afshin Banabin, Stephen Mangas. This is the nation's capital sports show, where it's most definitely on. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the nation's capital sports show, where it's most definitely on here in the DMV and beyond. I'm Kevin Jeter with Afshin Banab, Stephen Mangas, and our very special guest, Shannon Hagler. And now it's time for us to talk local college basketball. And we're going to talk a little bit about Georgetown, Maryland, UVA, Howard University, and American University. Let's start with Georgetown in the Big East. Currently, as of this broadcast, they are 16-8. Not doing bad, Afshin Banab.
Not doing bad, but they should do better. They the last few games struggled. Every time they seem to get in the top 25, 3 games now, they've fallen out of the top 25 with their next game. And John Thompson III is not going to make it to the NCAA tournament if he doesn't go far now in the Big East tournament, because he's got to finish out this regular season, Stephen, and then play and then become a power in the Big East tournament, because if he doesn't, I don't think they're going to make it unless they advance.
That almost seems to be the problem each and every year. They, at the end of the season, they just can't seem to have that fire and umph in them to kind of continue on the way in which they're supposed to.
Well, the Hoyas are like an enigma, you know. If they do well in the regular season and they get a top 4 or 5 seed, they lose in the first or second round.
Lose in the first round, second round, right.
Right. If they get a 10 or 11 seed, they seem to be able to advance quite a distance in the tournament.
All right, let's get Shannon in here.
For Georgetown, it seems like, I'm going to piggyback off what Afshin said. Every time they get into the top 25, it seems like they always start to struggle and they always fall back out.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're in danger, like you said, missing the tournament for the second year in a row now, which is something that program's supposed to be held to a little bit of a higher standard. They should at least be in the tournament, maybe not necessarily a high seed every time, but as you said, it's going to have to finish the season strong. The schedule upcoming is a little difficult for them too. They've got 2 games versus St. John's, and they've got a game versus Butler, who is now a top 25 team as well, that they've split a 2-game series with earlier on in the year. And then 2 other games that should be winnable that they've defeated as well.
And they also split one with Villanova. They won the first one, and then they got smashed in the second game.
Right, but the thing is that when the tournament committee looks at wins and losses, they'll look at the second Villanova game before they'll look at the first one.
Well, they look at that second Villanova game, and I don't know what to tell you about that. Let's talk a little bit about the University of Maryland. In the Big Ten, a lot of folks thought they would falter, but the one thing about Maryland is that regardless as to what conference they're in, I kind of expected that they would do good.
Yeah, they've done quite well this year, and it's not just Des Wells, but it's also the local guy from O'Connell High School, Melo Trimble, who has really done well as a true freshman starting on that basketball team. And now they're in the top 25, and the Big Ten is one of the stronger conferences in basketball, as you well know, Shannon, following your school up there. But you know what? They probably will get to the tournament. They don't seem to falter. They may have a game here or there, but they always seem to put on a streak, and they do well in that way. And that's what conference officials look at. Again, that's what tournament officials look at. What kind of streak do you put through at the end of the season?
Yeah, Maryland's a team that I see definitely making the tournament this year. I mean, they're number 2 in the Big Ten right now, number 19 in the nation, but they do still have to play Wisconsin another time, which is going to be a difficult game. Wisconsin's number 5, and they've only lost, I believe, 1 game, 3, something like that.
3 games, right.
Yeah, so that's going to be the difficult one. But as you said, Trimble playing about as well as a freshman point guard you could ask for, probably one of the top freshmen in the Big Ten in general this year, certainly.
Yeah, I don't know. You follow, obviously, Michigan, Shannon, so Maryland is a rival, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice because you'll be able to see Michigan and Maryland when they play here, on February 28th.
I've been waiting for Michigan to come down to Maryland eventually, so.
Yeah, they will on February 28th, and that should be a good one. Michigan is struggling right now because they got a lot of young players like Maryland.
That's right.
But Maryland has some seniors that Michigan doesn't.
Now, do you plan to go to that game?
Yeah, hopefully.
Oh, wow. Hey, lucky you.
Same with football, too.
Oh, wow.
Next year.
Yeah, and one thing to mention about Maryland, too, if they do make it back to the tournament this year, this will be the first time under Turgeon, the first time since Gary Williams' retirement. So that would be a big step forward in the program.
And this is, I think, Turgeon's 4th season.
Yes.
So
he immediately followed Williams, who retired in 2010 or after that season.
Right.
They haven't made it since.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the University of Virginia Cavaliers. That is Chris Jerry's team. He's not here today, but they seem to be tearing it up in the good old ACC.
Yeah, they are. They are ranked 2 with 1 loss. What are they?
23-1.
Oh, not 201. 23-1.
Yeah. Close to 200.
23-1.
Yeah,
I'm
you
just
think,
baseball.
yeah.
They're 23-1,
Yeah.
and man, they are tearing it up. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're sort of local, they're not local,
Yeah.
however you want to look at it. But I'm happy for them. I'm happy for our man Chris Jerry because I know.
They're the University of Virginia,
yes.
so that's that's local enough, I guess.
They are.
Even though Charlottesville's a good 2 hours away from
Our studio's out of Virginia.
We got plenty of listeners that like UVA.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
lots of
all two
alumni
of
in the
them.
area.
No,
Yeah.
I'll say this. I'll say
Chris Jerry and who?
Tony Bennett. I
Yeah.
think even Chris will admit Tony Bennett has surprised him. Last year when they had Joe Harris and the seniors that were carrying that team, he said, "Okay, Tony's doing a good job." But the Coach Bennett this year, I think, has completely surprised Chris and a lot of UVA fans. I mean, they have put on a masterful season right now.
Yeah, it seemed like what's going to be back-to-back #1 seeds within the tournament. Last year they were able to do it and eventually lost out to Michigan State, but they're looking to do that again this year, though. In the last few games, they're starting to struggle a little bit because they've lost one of their key players, Justin Anderson, who's a big from behind the arc. In those last 3 games, they almost lost to Wake Forest, which is not something that should happen. It was a 61-60 game, and they're going to have a rematch in Wake Forest coming up in a few weeks as well. That's going to be difficult to see, but Justin Anderson should return in March in time for hopefully the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament as well.
Yeah, Kevin, Stephen picks up on it. Injuries, that is the key also.
Yeah.
That's just as big of a deal going down the stretch as we move towards March Madness as putting together winning streaks and beating top teams in the country. You got to stay healthy.
Yeah, if that injury bites them, then you talk about them being more of a lower seed than a #1 seed, and all of a sudden in the NCAA tournament, your schedule to get to the Final Four becomes a lot more difficult when you're playing higher teams instead of a 16 seed in the first round.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that March Madness. Looking forward to that a lot. Shannon, have anything?
Well, before this season, I haven't really heard much from Virginia for basketball, but this season it seems like they're just getting big.
Yeah, they are. They are. They're doing well. I mean, they're on the national map
absolutely.
after you're talking about since Ralph Sampson's days. I mean, that's how long it's been. Ralph Sampson, Othell Wilson, Ricky Wilson, all those guys. Ricky Stokes, pardon me, all those guys, that's how long it's been since Virginia has really been consistently on the map. They were #1 in 1982, and they hadn't really been that.
No.
And they hadn't been in the top 10 since.
Yeah, not until the last 2 years to be
Yeah.
able to do what they've done is a huge improvement for them.
Well, it's nice to see that their basketball program can be successful. Unfortunately, we can't say that about their football program. Chris Jerry. All right, let's talk a little bit about Howard University real quick. We got about a minute left in the MEAC division. As of this broadcast, they are 13-12 and 7-4 in the MEAC division. Afshin?
Yeah, I'm going to lump Howard and GW and maybe American altogether, but I do like what I see with Kevin Nickelberry and the Bison. I think 7-4, 13-12 overall is to me successful for that program right now, and I think he gets another couple years. He's still got some freshmen and sophomores. He's got a couple of red shirts that are now playing. It takes a little time when you have to put in young people, and that's what Michigan's going through. That's what Howard's going through.
And let's be honest, no one really expects Howard to be the top of the conference or anything like that. They're not a powerhouse team.
I would love it.
This has been a
They
success.
did.
Yeah, you'd love it if they did,
know?
of course. But so this is in is kind of a successful year for them, relatively. So
It is. At any time,
Yeah.
I'd like to see them do well, and it's been a long time.
I'll add on to one of the other DC teams to look out for, American University, who was able to make the NCAA tournament last year. I believe is a 16 seed. They may be able to do it again with strong conference tournament if they were able to win that conference. They're 2 games back in the conference right now, and about at the same time, about 1 game, 1.5 back on overall record. So.
All right, we're going to let you have the last word on that. This is the Nation's Capital Sports Show. I'm Kevin Jeter, hanging out with Shannon Hagler, Afshin Banab, and Stephen Mangaz. Now it's Chris Jerry inspired and Afshin Banab inspired all sorts of sports segment. They brought this to us, and this is where actually we get to talk about a myriad of different types of sports in 8 minutes. We did it last time with 10 seconds to spare. So I'm going to throw some things at you guys, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond. So here we go. NFL Films legend Ed Sable passes away, as well as UNLV Basketball Hall of Famer and icon Jerry Tarkanian.
Well, I'd like to kick this one off with Ed Sable, because certainly someone that I admired growing up. I watched NFL films constantly.
Do I need to?
Yeah.
While you talk, go ahead
Yeah,
talk.
yeah. Something I was. Yeah, there you go. You got to have the iconic background music going. But definitely something I watched growing up all the time. I mean, it's just the perfect mixture for me. I have a bit of a film background history as well, something that I look at, and then sports, and the way that he was able to mesh the two and bring them together. Really, the reason he was able to do it was because he just started out as, you know, a regular guy who, with a video camera and everything, and then created Blair Studios in '62, I believe, and before the NFL really was getting filmed that much in the first place, filmed the game, and then trial by error, started to pick things, and then in NFL films it became the thing that you had to have tell a story with every shot.
Actually,
you know, Stephen, you said it well, and he made football poetry.
Absolutely.
Putting on NFL films at football, thrown 40 or 50 yards downfield, right under those gray skies, and you have John Vicenda's voice in the background talking about the frozen tundra at Lambeau Field and all of that stuff. You know, he made football poetry, and no one else has done it since. And it's a sad loss. And of course, his son died 2 years ago. I think he was lost to cancer, I believe.
Right.
And you know, and he took over for Ed Sable and for like about, I guess, 25, 30 years.
Let's get to Coach Tartanki.
Tark the Shark.
Yeah.
He was a rebel. He coached the UNLV Running Rebels.
Running Rebels.
He was the anti-establishment coach in college basketball when it wasn't popular to be one. And they won a national championship in 1990, I believe it was. He was the anti-establishment coach. The NCAA hated him, but he won.
All right, Shannon.
I'm not really sure who those guys are. I'm not.
That's
I'm not that familiar
That's
with
okay.
the younger
You know,
generation.
when you get home, go to YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, you know. So Google them, and you can find out. But that's okay. Let's get on to Tiger Woods. I'm quite sure you know about Tiger Woods.
Tiger
don't you?
Woods,
All
yeah.
right, there you go. All right, so Tiger Woods decided to shut it down because, after all, you know, the once king of golf had his worst outing in professional golfing ever. So the question begs to be asked. And is Tiger done, or can he regain his swagger and go on to win again? Shannon.
Well, I think eventually he might be able to come back, but as of now, I think his career might be done for a while. But I think he could come back later on, possibly.
That's right. Well, he'll be back in EA Sports with his games. So you can win there with him.
No, I agree with Shannon. I think
I do too.
you know, I think he really does need to step away from the game. He hasn't won since 2008, and then he had that incident in Thanksgiving of 2009, and he, you know, has never been the same Tiger Woods ever since. I don't know if he'll ever win another major, Kev. I honestly don't know. But I think if he takes a step away from the game, physically, maybe feel better a little bit, work on his mental state, see what happens down the road. But I don't know if he plans on catching Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah.
He's got to start this year because there's not much time left anyway.
You guys hit the nail on the head. I mean, he is still incredibly young comparatively to everything else. He started so young winning those things that to say never again is a little difficult because golf is a game that you can play, you know, well into your later years. So it's possible that he could win, you know, in that end of his career. But right now, probably going to be continue the big gap of not winning.
After hit on it, Jack, you know, golfing greats such as Jack Nicklaus, they proved that you can go into your twilight years and be 60 plus and still win. Perhaps he just needs to take a little break from it and gain some perspective.
Yeah.
You know, so that's perhaps what he needs. All right, let's move on. This one was inspired by, I was playing an LL Cool J record yesterday, and it said, GOAT, greatest of all time. So what you guys sent me during the course of the week, I says, well, let's turn this into a local type of thing. Who is your GOAT, G-O-A-T-A, or GOATA, greatest athlete of all time in DC sports? And so first, I'm going to actually go. He's not an athlete. He was an owner, the late, great Abe Pollin. Abe Pollin revitalized so much in terms of local sports, especially with the Capitol Center. That was way before your time. Ask your daddy and ask your mom about that in Landover, Maryland. And then that's when the team was named the Wizards. He also owned the Capitals. When that was shuttered, he used his own money to revitalize Verizon Center down a Gallery Place. Never asked for any type of tax concessions or anything. Changed the name from the Bullets to the Wizards because he felt at that particular time in D.C. there was so much violence, he wanted to step away from that. Love Dave Poland as an owner and as a man. He did some great things for Washington sports. That is my go-to in D.C. of all time, Afshin.
Yeah, that's a good one. And he, he was a mom and pop owner, one of the last mom and pop owners you'd ever see in the world of sports. So he was good. One of my athletes, I was conflicted here because I didn't know if I wanted to mention an athlete who's from the area or who played in the area. And there's two I'm going to come up with, and they both played. One is, and I love athletes who are drafted by a team, and they stay with one team their whole career, Darryl Green and Wes Unseld. Both of them, to me, Wes Unseld is still the face of that Bullets Wizards franchise. And then, of course, Darryl Green was here for 21. He played 21 years in a Washington burgundy and gold uniform. So that, to me, and then Sugar Ray Leonard as an individual.
And you talk about Wes Unseld. Remember that strong pass he had? He would like the
outlet
pass from one end of the court to the other.
The great outlet. He was the best outlet passer.
Boys and girls, look at that. You can learn some things about that.
Yeah.
But I digress. Stephen.
I'll follow you up. Darryl Green, certainly one of my favorites growing up and would be one of my picks. But as far as most successful and storied careers that's still going on right now would be Alex Ovechkin. I mean, what he's accomplished in the NHL is, tops out of anybody. He's basically going to the Hall of Fame. So if you talk about DC athletes, he's got to be one of the greatest of all time to play in DC.
I agree. And your mom, she loves hockey?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something, and I'll tell her right now. She's over there watching. Alex Ovechkin, if he finishes out his career here, will become the greatest Washington athlete this city has ever seen.
Without question, you'll talk about something.
So let's move on and get your athlete of all time, Shannon.
My favorite, or I think the most popular, is probably John Wall right now. I think that the second he joined the Wizards, they've just been getting better and better each season that he's been on the team, and he's exciting to watch, and he does good playing with Bradley Beal. And
that's right.
Hopefully.
And has he put in the work too? You see him progress each and every year, and now he's at the point where he's earned his keep. I really like John Wall. I mean, he walks the talk. He doesn't talk that much. And unlike some other DC athletes who like to blog and all that stuff, but you hit it right on the nail right on the head. He really is the type of athlete that's proven and that it's worth his salt.
And as Shannon started to say at the end of that too, if he gets the chance to play with KD, this list might need to change.
That's right. He's a local boy. Yeah, I think John Wall is great, and I don't know why he gets so much criticism, and he's just proven to be one of the best point guards in the NBA right now.
Yes, he is proven. I agree with Shannon as well. All right, so this one is from While It's Still Fresh in Your Mind category. Now, all of us have had the opportunity to watch the myriad of all-star competitions. So let's talk a little bit about the recent NBA All-Star Weekend. And let's parlay that over to the NFL Pro Bowl, Major League Baseball's All-Star Game, and the NHL big shenanigan, no, actually not shenanigan, but the sports spectacle of their rendition of an All-Star Game. Now, which are your favorite All-Star games to watch? And we'll start with Shannon.
My favorite is, because I'm a basketball guy, I like to watch the NBA All-Star Game.
And John Wall just recently won something, too.
The game changer versus Steph Curry, who would be the other best point guard.
So we got less than a minute. Afshin, real quick.
I love the way basketball is produced and what they're showing, but baseball to me is still the best All-Star game.
All right, Stephen.
I'm gonna half agree and half disagree. I think that the best All-Star game is baseball, but I think the best weekend and things surrounding
basketball.
it is NBA. The skills challenge, everything that we just watched, Zach LaVine winning the dunk contest, that still has some sort of drive to it.
All right, so my choice is Major League Baseball All-Star Game. All right, so last question for Shannon, real quick. Who do you have to win the WCAC High School Basketball Championship this year?
I have St. John's winning.
Why is that, young man?
You heard it real quick. And so that's what we have there. Thank you much, gentlemen. Shannon Hagler, Afshin Banab, and Stephen Mangaz. Our email address is info@tncss.net. If you want to get in contact with us, you can watch us on Comcast 69 and Files 38 via AIM. You can watch us on Sunday at 3 p.m., Monday at 9:30 a.m., and Friday at 9:30 p.m. For Afshin Banab, Stephen Mangaz, and Shannon Hagler, thank you very much for coming along. We really do appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.
And you can check out Shannon's site, Custom Kicks, right?
Slick Kick.
Slick Kick.
Yeah, that's a tongue twister for you. So we thank you for watching and listening to the Nation's Capital Sports Show, where it's most definitely on. Take care. Have a great day.